Hello, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I have my Superheroathon wrap up. So if you watch my March wrap up, you will see that I did mention some of the books that I read for Superheroathon, but I just gave the rating because I said that I would sort of wrap it up and explain my thoughts and feelings here. The Superheroathon is hosted by Beck from xxbeccabumxx and Grace from G-Swizzle Reads or G-Swizzle Books, and I will link both of their channels down below. I managed to complete 7 of the 10 challenges for Superheroathon, and I did that with 5 books. Although those 5 were not of the original 6 that I set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the books that I read and then tell you the challenges that they completed, because a lot of them completed more than one challenge. So the first books that I read are Saga Volume 1, Saga Volume 2 and Saga Volume 3 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. If you watch my TBR for this readathon, I said that I was going to read Saga Volume 1 and that I hoped I didn't like it because I'd have to buy the rest. Yeah, well, I loved it and I've bought up to Volume 4 now. The challenges these completed were Iron Man, read an oldie but goodie. I originally had chosen from the House of Night series for this. Ant-Man, a tiny book that packs a punch, which is the one that I originally had Saga Volume 1 in for. Black Panther, read a book with a person of colour as the main character, which I originally had Glass Sword in for. And Adventures, which was read a book with #Squad Goals, which I originally had Assassin's Blade in for. I absolutely adored them. I think they are brutal. It's really hard because you have multiple sort of groups of people and we see from all of their perspectives, so we sort of feel for all of them because they have their own things going on. They're not just like, to each other they're all enemies, but to the reader they're not, and it's really emotional when they all come together and clash and you're not really sure which side you're rooting for more. These are mature. I would not recommend them for a younger reader. There is sexual content, there is violence, there is explicit language, but they are absolutely fantastic. As you've heard me mention before, I don't like graphic novels because my brain is not very good at processing things visually. However, these are amazing. I absolutely love the art, I love the storyline, everything about them is just phenomenal. Obviously, I gave each individual volume 5 stars. I also love this so much. Bear in mind that I read these on the 25th of March, I read the first one, and I read one a week since. So in that short amount of time, I not only bought the next 3 volumes, I also purchased Marco and Alana as Funko Pops, and I do also have Lion Cat on my birthday wishlist. I just love this series so much and I just think it's great. The next book that I read was What Is Not Yours Is Not Yours by Helen Oyeyemi. I gave this 2 stars. I didn't really like it very much. There was one short story in this called Presence, which was about a guy who was developing, I'm not sure if it was a software, but it would allow people who'd had relatives who had died to get into contact with the loved one that they'd lost and sort of experience memories with a sort of representation of them. And he tests this software with himself and his wife. Did really enjoy that short story. I thought it was great. And also the first one in this, called Books and Roses, I thought was good, not amazing, but it was good. There was one story in this that I really didn't like, and that was the Homely Wench Society. That one was about sort of like the UK version of a sorority at Cambridge University. Really wasn't a fan of that, didn't connect with it at all, absolutely hated it. The rest of them, I'm not sure if this is a problem that I have with short stories or magical realism, but if I understood at all what was going on in the story, then I didn't see the point. So my problem was that I either didn't have a clue what was happening, or if I did, then I just didn't understand what the point of the story was. This is very ambiguous, which I have found with other magical realism I've read, which is only The Wind Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami. But with that, it's like an over 500-page book, so there is a lot of substance in there that also cushions the sort of what the fuck of the magical realism. But with these being short stories, it just didn't really work for me. I didn't like them. I didn't understand the point, and a lot of the time I did not know what was going on. However, the writing is absolutely beautiful. If you do like magical realism, I would maybe suggest it, but as somebody who's not read a lot of magical realism, I don't know whether this is a good representation and example of the genre. And I'm not sure if I've said, but this one was for Captain America, to read a book that represents your country. I then read Assassin's Blade by Sarah J Maas as the carry-on next book of the Throne of Glass read-along that I'm hosting. Gave this one 5 stars, absolutely loved it. To me, this is an example of short stories done right. I completed this for the challenge Thor, to read a book set in a different world. Black Widow, read a book with a kick-ass female character. And I did originally have this down for Squad Goals, but I did switch that to Saga because Squad Goals in this is only later on in the series, not this particular book. This is just short stories done brilliantly. This is sort of where Selena comes to life and actually sort of lives up to this notorious assassin figure thing that she's portrayed herself as in Throne of Glass. Each self-contained story is a little adventure, and overall they make up the bigger picture and the story of Selena, Sam and Arabin Hamel. I thought this was good. I thought this was really well written. It's not an essential piece of reading in the Throne of Glass series, but I would highly recommend that you do not skip this because it adds a whole other dimension. Unlike most novellas and short stories that I've read that are attached to series that sort of take place outside of the series on the side, this contains a great deal of character development. It explains a lot of questions you may have had when reading the first book, and it is just generally really well done, really well written, and I absolutely adored it. I did do a book diary on this, as I am doing with the entire Throne of Glass read along, so I will put that in a card above so you can check it out. So those were all the books that I managed to actually complete. The 3 challenges that I didn't manage to complete were What Would Stan Lee Do to read a Marvel comic, which I said that I wasn't going to complete anyway. I also didn't complete Captain Marvel to read a new release, and Hulk Smash, read an intimidating book on your TBR that you want to smash out. I also changed the Person of Colour one to Saga from Glass Sword because I didn't complete that book. For the intimidating TBR and the new release, I did have Strange the Dreamer on, but I just didn't get a chance to finish it. I am absolutely loving this so far. It is beautiful, it is magical, and I'm obsessed. I'm on page 256, so I'm almost halfway through, and this is just phenomenal. And during the time period for the readathon, I read 278 pages of Glass Sword. So if I hadn't been reading 2 books at once and would have put them together, I would have actually completed one. But I didn't because I'm really struggling with Glass Sword at the minute. It's my least favourite book in the series, and I do tend to take my rereads of Red Queen quite slowly. I'm not sure what it is, I just can't read them very quickly. I sort of dread picking the book up, but when I'm reading it, I actually really love it. So I sort of relegated this to my workbook that I would read while I was at work, and Strange the Dreamer is my current at-home read. So I was reading 2 books at once and didn't complete either of them. However, that is another like 500 pages added to my total for the readathon, so over 2 weeks I did pretty well. So that's everything for my Superheroathon wrap up. Thank you so much for Bex and Grace for hosting this. Please let me know if you took part and how well you did. How many challenges did you complete? Were there any books that you really loved during the readathon? As usual, please don't forget to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to. If you head into the description box down below, you'll find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish body butter and candle website if you'd like to check any of that out. And there is also an Instagram for that as well. That's everything from me today. Bye!